I want to officially welcome everyone to Elevate's Investment Banking Forum session here today. We are super excited to have all of you guys on from all of the different universities that we're partnered up with across North America. We're also very excited to have on 15 or so investment bankers on here today. They're all exceptional individuals, exceptional performers, just exceptional, mentors for you guys all to sort of learn a lot from today. And the goal is, these guys were all on the other side a couple years ago and on these panels. So the goal is all of the people in the audience, we want you back, be successful in your recruiting journeys and your careers and come back as panelists right next year and the year after. So that's the goal here. So I want to thank all the panelists again for taking the time out on a Saturday to educate sort of the next generation here. By way of background, I'm Kaushik Ravi. I'm the founder of Elevate. My background is in private equity since 2015. We had about 500 plus people sign up for the conference. Today, about 25 universities represented, all your peers here. Overview of the Elevate platform for those people that are new to the platform. Look, I think we're solving three main things, right? Three main challenges in banking, private equity, venture capital careers. One is education. There's a huge gap in knowledge of what is needed to succeed, enter and succeed in these careers. This goes beyond sort of the academic training that you guys are getting. So, we bring on professionals and firms. We've got on 70 plus firms on the platform in different capacities. Number two, networking. It's too difficult, time consuming, and frankly expensive to meet other high quality people and peers who share similar career interests. So we've built a networking platform which has facilitated something like 2,000 meetings in the last couple months. And then recruiting, right? It's too challenging for most candidates to find their highest quality jobs that match their interests and passions. So kind of that's the three main challenges that I found in the industry. So enter Elevate, we help people learn, connect, and recruit for these jobs, right? So like I said, 20,000 plus students and early professionals, and partner with a lot of top firms and about 100 clubs across the top 30 undergrad and top 12 MBAs. We had an MBA venture capital session last night. We have 400 people on a couple weeks ago on PE. So really career long, right? From when undergrad to sort of post MBA. Like I mentioned, the three platforms, you'll get more information about it, but really take advantage of the education. I think we have about 400 free videos online from professionals. Our training's been taught at 9 out of the top 10 business schools this fall. So just really take advantage of all these resources to learn from successful people and professionals. Networking, like I said, network is a capital. So whether you're a student or a professional or whatever, meet other people in this industry and sort of build your network capital. And finally, recruiting, get in the know of the jobs and people that are looking for them and what it actually means to be successful there. Like I said, 70 plus firms and professionals we've already featured. This is our 21st event on the Zoom platform. And then the top 30 undergrads and the top 15 MBAs, right? So this is sort of a quick summary of the platform itself. So today's session, guys, will be two main parts. There'll be a panel discussion for the first 25 minutes, and then you'll have a breakout session or 3 breakout sessions where you'll get the opportunity in a small group to meet 2 bankers and then ask them a lot of your questions. So we're going to rotate through those in every 15-minute segment. So that's a general format. Well, the intro that I want our panelists to give is their own intro. This could be kind of 30 seconds or whatever, their background, where they are. And also I'd love to hear from you guys. What is the number one thing in your mind that differentiates someone who is recruiting, right? So in the process, and then number one thing that differentiates someone as an analyst or once they sort of hit the desk. Does that make sense for our analysts? So why don't we do that? Aaron, just because you're on my screen here, Aaron Guo from Goldman, do you want to kick us off?
Oh, hey everyone. Good to see everyone on the panel. I'm Aaron. I'm a second-year analyst at Goldman in the TMT group in New York. Previously, I was at Credit Suisse covering healthcare in San Francisco. In terms of the two things you mentioned, Kaushik, I think recruiting and on the job, I would say that during recruiting, I think the number one thing someone can do is reach out early on, develop a good connection, and kind of maintain that through the recruiting process and kind of keep that genuine and kind of a regular kind of dialogue going on. In terms of on the job, I think just kind of thinking critically about what you do in terms of like not just doing the job and then walking away, but thinking about what it means and kind of what it means for the business and the client you're advising.
Excellent. Thank you, Aaron. Can we go with Maria from Morgan Stanley?
Cool, sounds good. Hi everyone, my name is Maria. I graduated from UPenn in May of 2020, and I guess I'm a second-year analyst at Morgan Stanley. And yeah, looking forward to speaking with you guys later. In terms of recruiting, I think reaching out early is good. I guess on top of that, I would also just recommend, being yourself and, I think it can be easy to reach out to a lot of people, which is great to just learn what opportunities are out there. And you guys are, on this, call at like 12 p.m. on a Saturday. So I'm sure you're already very, proactive and things like that. But, I just say be yourself and, just, don't feel like you have to overdo it. But, if you find a few places you like, focus on that. And, don't feel like you have to reach out or apply to every single bank. Cause also I think if you stretch yourself too thin, it's almost too bad. So, and then on the job, I would agree. I think, definitely in your second year, I feel like once you understand what's happening, you can kind of, dive into your deals more and kind of be additive to the group in that way. But I think for your first year, I think honestly, just being proactive is good because you guys may not, know a lot. And so your first, the most you can add is just being available and being proactive. And so, just taking notes and sending them to people or asking if you can help out with something or just going ahead and doing it or asking questions about the model and things like that and just being really helpful. I think that's one advice I would give.
Okay, amazing. Thank you, Maria. Super great advice, guys. Can we go to Nima next from GSTMT?
Hey guys, I'm Nima. I went to school at UCSB, joined CS in their FIG team and lateral to Goldman in May. I think in terms of recruiting, how to differentiate yourself, I started from a very unconventional background. I went to community college to start. And so I think one of the things that really differentiated me at least, and I think a lot of other people that have similar backgrounds to myself, are just like dogged persistence and just like prioritization of what you want post college, whatever that is. And for many of you, that's probably investment banking. And in terms of on the job, I think being responsive, being proactive is very important. I think early on in your first year, that's like the main thing that you can do to really be a top bucket analyst. But I think as you move into your second year, the most important thing is, because you have some deals on your belt, understanding what are the next steps in the process, how to think ahead and really play to the position above you. Right. And I think that is really critical. And I think that really helps people kind of advocate for you as you advance in your career.
Amazing. Thank you, Nima. All great advice. We're going to dive into a couple of these things in just a second. Thank you, Nima. Can we go to Michael next? Michael Wang.
Sure. Hey, everyone. My name is Michael Wang. I'm a first-year analyst in Evercore's real estate M&A group. I was born and raised in Dallas, just graduated from Columbia earlier this spring. And one thing that I'd say helps during recruiting is having a good story for, first off, what you've done so far in your previous internships, clubs at school, and then also why you want to do investment banking. I think, first off, if you don't have that down, like you're probably not going to get an internship anywhere. Second of all, if you can convince people why you want to do banking, you know what you're getting into and what you want to get out of it, I feel like that will really go a long way for you. And then for what helps on the job, I'd say for me, my first few months, I feel like having an attention to detail is pretty important. So just things like small things like, making sure everything's aligned, making sure all the numbers tie together in a deck. It's not like the first thing you'd look at, but it shows your associates and VPs that you actually care about your work, and it prevents you from making silly mistakes that other people might make. So I'd say that's something important to keep in the back of your head.
Amazing. Thank you, Michael. The point there goes to kind of your general reputation, right? Reputation really matters in the industry and starts from when you're in maybe having these conversations in college all the way to, later on. So thank you, Michael. Nick Berry from Barclays.
Hi, guys. I'm Nick, and, good job for all of you coming out here. I think that is a little bit of the answer for tips for recruiting. It's just being engaged. So good job on all of your behalfs. So I'm Nick. I'm a second-year analyst in the industrial group at Barclays. And what I would say is the number one piece of advice I would give for people recruiting is to be really enthusiastic when you get the chance to get on the phone with someone at one of these firms in both what you say and how you say it. I led my group's recruiting effort last year, and I will say there was a tremendous difference in my perception of a candidate when they were able to get on the phone and talk enthusiastically from the second I picked up. And were able to explain why they're interested in the industry, because I think everyone has a very similar resume. I'm sure you all go to great schools, you all have great GPAs, and you're all really engaged on campus. But what I think separates you is the ability to be engaging on the phone, which I think is a real skill to develop in banking and partially what people are looking for, but also to not just be able to say, I'm interested in finance because I want to learn, I want to grow. Those are all great answers, but to be able to maybe hit on a couple of details on industry interests. And it doesn't have to be anything specific or really contrived, but just show that you have some interest, because it'll really boost the engagement of someone on the other end of the phone and make you a memorable candidate. And then my second piece of what makes you a successful analyst, I agree with everything that has already been shared, but I think it's hugely important to just learn from your mistakes. And that ideally does not mean sending a deck to the client with numbers that don't tie or are wrong, but thinking on the micro level of how you can improve every single time, because no one's perfect. You learn on this job through doing, but it's kind of the ability to go through that iterative process of learning and developing where you can really differentiate yourself, I think, in your first year.
Amazing. Thank you, Nick. Cool. Let's keep going, guys. Can we go to Oliver?
Hey, yeah, sure. Can you guys all hear me? Cool.
Yep.
So my name is Oliver Wang. I'm a Columbia 2020 grad, currently in the M&A group at PJT. I grew up in Toronto, Canada with my buddy Aaron over here. This is my first Elevate event, so I'm super excited about the platform. The first question, I think there are two answers I'd probably give. Number one, I think the quality of your networking matters a lot more than the quantity. So back when I was recruiting as a sophomore, people were telling me you need to talk to everyone at a bank to get to know the entire group, and that's the way to get an offer. I talked to one person at PJT, and that was like the extent of my networking, and it was a really good conversation. Had multiple conversations with the same person, and it worked out really well. So I think forming like a genuine connection is really important. And then the second piece of advice, and I think Nick touched upon this, is just that a lot of what people prep for in terms of like behaviorals and technicals is rather commoditized. Like everyone has the guides, everyone has a lot of the same resources. I think what really differentiates, at least within the later stages of interviews, are your ability to like talk to senior people, because at the end of the day, those are the people, your partners and your senior MDs, who are actually deciding your offer. And so for you as a 21, 22-year-old, to be able to speak very comfortably to a senior partner who runs a group and who's an industry leader as if they were your friend's parent, I think is a super underrated skill. And I think like an actionable way to improve upon that skill, and it's obviously not easy for me at least, is to listen to like a lot of podcasts and just listen to people who like have a lot of experience speak and ask good questions. And then the second larger question, which is how do you, I guess, be a good analyst on the job? I think the biggest piece of advice I give is it's really important to be able to play high-low. What that means is you need to be like really good at getting into the weeds and, tying out the details and the numbers. But at the same time, I think it's really important to see like the broader strategic picture. That way you won't burn yourself out, and you'll ask yourself like, okay, why do these things that I'm creating, like why do these pages or why does this model actually matter and why is it important? But secondly, like it helps your ability to play up as Nima was talking about. So it's probably what I offer.
Great advice all around, guys. I think definitely. And Oliver, welcome to your first Elevate event. Thanks for being here. We love having you. So let's keep going. Can we, Shreya? Can we do your intro?
Yeah, sure. Hi guys, I'm Shreya. I graduated in June from U Chicago and started in JP Morgan and TMT, where I also interned last summer. I think for me, it's from the recruiting standpoint, just kind of focusing on networking in a strategic or systematic way, where you kind of start from people in-house, but with what I mean is starting with your alumni or people in your clubs, and then maybe progressing to people outside, cold calling on LinkedIn. As I think somebody said before, it's the quality of the networking that matters, and usually you'll be able to better connect with the people at your school and people who are doing the same activities as you, or maybe who've been through the process before. And I think the similar part goes in the kind of roles, I think how I approached recruiting when I was doing it, I started out with at any banks that I started networking with, I started out with analyst levels first. and then went on ahead to the MDs. And I think that kind of also helps set up expectations, right? Because you can start off with like speaking to a person who you'll be working in a role with, and then people who are senior to you can give you a perspective as to their long-term career within that industry. And I think from like starting as an analyst, it's been 4 months for me in the desk. One thing that I noticed, which is extremely important, is attention to detail. And I guess like it goes beyond, I guess, just like checking your model before submitting it. It's more on like even sending an email. For example, like, we have the system of like we can't send an external email before it prompting you're sending an external email. So just making sure that before you click that send button, you just review it again and just like take a step back. And I think it helps a lot because you just find so many errors in that last check before you've actually hit the send button. So I think that's something that I've noticed a lot in my time so far.
Amazing. Thank you, Shreya. Great advice already. Can we have Saahil from Goldman next?
Hey everyone, my name is Saahil Patel. I graduated Princeton in 2020, and I'm a second-year analyst in the consumer retail group at Goldman. Really excited to be here, and again, echoing what everyone else said, props to you guys for being here, because definitely is a great place to be to meet a bunch of your peers and speak to people who are in the industry. In terms of the two questions, so first, in the recruiting process, I think it's really important to, when you're getting on networking calls, to really try to understand what the job actually entails from like a day-to-day standpoint, like what really the analyst role entails. And the reason I say that is because when you're in an interview setting, I think it's really important to be able to tie your previous experiences in terms of the skill sets at those maybe previous internships or clubs, and tie those skills that you've developed to what the role entails. And that can apply even if you don't have a bunch of different finance internships on your resume, or you're involved in a bunch of different finance clubs. Whatever you're doing, there are applicable skills that can be transferable to this job, and the crisper understanding you have of what the job entails, I think you'll be able to do that more effectively in an interview setting and really show an interviewer like, hey, here are the skills that I have, and here's what I can bring to the table to like, be an effective member of the team. And then in terms of on the job itself, I think something that you can start doing even as early as a couple of months into your first year is that as you're working through a piece of analysis, or maybe it's a process related thing, it's one thing to just identify problems and flag those to your associates and VPs. That's great. But I think what can take you the next step further is also proposing solutions to that. And I think that's something that's really, really well received by people above you, because it shows that you're thinking, actually, it's good that you're raising problems, but you're actually thinking one step beyond and saying, look, hey, maybe this assumption or way to go about analysis feels like wonky. Here's how I was thinking about we could go about it. What are your thoughts? And then you can kind of have that dialogue there. So I think, being able to not just identify problems, but then also propose solutions really kind of shows initiative. And I think it's something you can do as early as a couple months into your first year.
Amazing advice. And that goes back to like taking ownership. This is going to carry on throughout your careers, guys, whether you're in banking or PE or whatever. Just taking the ownership of whatever you're working on and taking it as its own is kind of what Saahil is mentioning. Great advice. Davis, you're up.
Hey everyone, I'm Davis. I graduated from UChicago in June, and I'm currently a first-year analyst at Raine. And I really just want to stress that the quality of these networking calls matters a lot more than the quantity. And this was something that I didn't really understand until I ended up taking the networking calls from the perspective of being a banker. But really just making sure that you come prepared with questions and that you're really engaged from the moment that you pick up the phone, I think would just be my general advice. To the other question on how to be a good first-year analyst, I'm honestly still learning this myself, but I think in general, what I've found is that people appreciate it when you show or demonstrate a willingness to learn and improve, and just have positive energy when you're on the team, because you'll be working late at night a lot of the times. And so if you're a negative person, it's not going to be fun to work with you. So that'd be my advice.
Great advice. Thanks, Davis. Welcome. Tom Dirks.
Hey everyone, my name is Tom. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin, and I'm currently a first-year analyst in Houlihan Lokey's restructuring group. One of the things that I've always thought stands out about a candidate is if they're actually very passionate about finance in the job, because I feel like there are a lot of people drawn to this position because it's a great place to start your career, but they might not actually be super interested in finance. So if you're someone that not only knows and has mastered those basic questions in the guide, but is able to know why they matter on the job as an analyst and bring up real world examples, I think that's something that displays, to the interviewers that you really want that position. And then as I've been working with analysts at Houlihan for some of the second years that I think are really impressive, what stands out to me about them is just their ability to understand all aspects of the deal and really be able to know how that connects to the materials that they're working on, and also materials that we receive from banks that we're co-advising with, and be able to call out like, hey, here's potential error, or maybe here's something we should add. And then the senior bankers put a lot of trust in them.
Great advice, Tom. Thank you. Let's go to Andrew Liang from Goldman.
Hey, thanks, Kaushik. I'm Andrew. I'm a first-year analyst in the Goldman Industrials Group and graduated in May from Harvard. I would say that a lot of people tend to approach the more technical side of interviews for banking internships and full-time with a pretty structured sort of rote memorization regimen. And I think that there's a lot to be sort of learned there, and also more of a questions asked rather than memorization approach can be really helpful, because you really learn about why bankers use certain valuation methodologies more so than just reading words off a page, and you understand, I think, conceptually what you'll be doing from a high level on the job, and having the initiative to turn that into a learning experience can be something that becomes valuable as you sort of become an actual analyst. In terms of on the job advice, I think a couple people have sort of mentioned this already, but we just have or try to have a great attitude when you can, because there are going to be days that are tough, and there are going to be days when you're learning new things that take a while or aren't coming immediately, but really being the person who is closest to all the sort of moving parts and weeds, bringing a nice attitude and being willing to say, I don't know, can you like teach me something? That's something that I think is more valuable from my experience than pretending that you know everything. So my 2 cents.
Great. So let's keep going. Thank you, Andrew. Liam from Evercore.
Hi everyone. Hope everyone's doing well on Saturday. So my name is Liam. I'm currently working at Evercore on the restructuring team. I'm a first-year analyst, and I graduated from Western University in Canada. So my path to New York was a bit different, but my advice still is generally the same. The one thing I would say is, the one piece of advice that I add on is when you're recruiting for a direct hire group, such as like a restructuring team or any other direct hire groups, the one thing to differentiate yourself is you have to show a genuine interest for whatever industry or whatever group it may be. And by doing that, you have to come prepared with either case studies or just like do your own research on whatever the group is, and have a background and be able to speak to why you specifically want to join that group. And secondly, I guess the only thing I'd add on to what people have said is when you're recruiting from like a technical standpoint, to make your life easier, is instead of like trying to regurgitate answers from a guide, is to actually start from an Excel sheet with a completely blank Excel sheet and try and build whatever analysis that you're working to. So if you have to build it, like if you want to learn how to build a DCF, just like start with a completely blank Excel sheet and build one out. So then when you get asked in an interview how to build a DCF, you can just speak to that because you've already done it, and you don't have to think about an answer. In terms of what differentiate yourself as an analyst, I think the most important thing is just making the life of the person above you easier. So thinking about what like their problems are, and just working to alleviate any of those. So I guess like Nima said, it's really working to the level of you, and yeah, just doing your job.
Great, thank you, Liam. Great advice. It's going to carry on through the rest of your career. Whether you're an associate, want to become a principal, same thing, right? Do the principal job a year before. I think, when I was sitting on like the junior banker committee, promotion committees at Goldman, that's a question we'd ask, right? Is this person operating at a VP level in order for them to get promoted? A year before they were even a VP, right? So this is sort of goes throughout your career. Great, thank you, Liam. Last two folks, but not least, Agne from Goldman, and then Houston from LionTree. So Agne, you can go first.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. My name's Agne. I graduated from U Chicago with a lot of my friends here, and started at Bank of America in their Global Industrials Group, and just recently made the jump to Goldman. Is from a recruiting perspective. I think it's very important to not get discouraged. Whether it be small things or larger things. So for example, I was an international student, so sometimes I would apply to banks and I would get an automated email saying that you're not being considered just because you need sponsorship as an international, and that was very discouraging when you see your peers around you interviewing. And I think that because the investment banking process, everybody thinks it happens like in a couple of weeks, but it's actually, there's going to be a lot of opportunities even down the road. As some banks recruit later, other types of firms recruit much later, so there's a lot of opportunities. So, just not getting bogged down and continuing to apply and continuing to find opportunities, I think is very important, rather than, sort of giving up. And then on the job, one thing that I found very different to college is managing competing work streams, because in college you can just prioritize what you think is best, but here there's other people who are depending on you, and I think that just upfront communicating what you think an expected timing is, or what you think the expected things to do are, and when you can expect it, I think is very much very important, versus people are thinking you're working on something and then they ask you where it is and they're like, oh, I haven't started on it. So being upfront and communicating your other work streams, I think really helps you stand out and manage expectations.
Amazing. Thank you, Agne. So I think we'll let Houston go in a second. I just want to make a quick point. We did have slides for you guys on sort of networking, internships, leadership involvement, business acumen, and sort of interviews as kind of the things that are the most important. In the interest of time, we're going to skip those. I'll share those with you guys afterwards on email. Everything's been covered by the panelists. If there's other stuff, you've heard me speak on campus like 25 times this fall already. So all of the schools that were here. So, just you refer to those. We'll go with Houston, and then our Brandon from our team is going to assign you guys all onto breakout rooms. I recommend stay in your breakout rooms. We're going to rotate the speakers out, every 15 minutes. Use that forum to really get all your questions out. These guys today, all of the panelists are here to help and sort of share your experiences. They represent their own beliefs and their advice. So definitely take advantage of that. And this is as far as I'm concerned, an incredible, unparalleled opportunity to get to network and interact with people who've been successful. So take advantage, guys. Don't be shy. So take advantage of their knowledge and really get real help, right? Hey, I'm struggling. No one's responding to my email. Hey, I'm struggling. I can't get a job this summer. Like whatever your thing is, like they're here to help. Okay. So that's the attitude I want you guys to have. Practice your pitch, maybe run your pitch by them, whatever you want. Okay. Lastly, Houston, and then we'll go to breakouts.
Hey everyone. Thanks for being here. My name's Houston. I graduated from Yale in 2020. Second year analyst with LionTree. I think to the point of, doing well in networking and getting a job, I think I would echo what Liam said. You can never really underrate just someone being actually interested or seeming like they're interested in kind of what we do, or what a specific person in a specific group does. Technicals and things like that are really just a check the box situation. Like we know that you guys don't really know anything. I mean, I'm still learning how to do some things for the first time as a second year. So yeah, I think just like the personality and just actually showing that you're committed to it and interested is huge. And also I would just remember that people tend to like to talk about themselves. So if you know what their group's up to, what they do, for 80 hours a week, I think that'll kind of work well for you. And then the second thing, as far as like when you're on the job, I think having, I call it like a golden retriever mentality, just like being happy that you're there. It's a tough job, but you don't do it out of college to get paid a lot, or to sit with CEOs. Like you do it to learn as much as you can. And when the job gets tough, I think it's always very helpful to just go back to like the reason why you're there. And it's a great training ground. So yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents.
Great. Thank you so much, Houston. Thank you guys, everyone again. All right, let's go to breakout rooms. So just give our team just like 30 seconds. We're going to automatically assign you guys, and then we'll assign the speakers next, and then have fun today, guys, on both sides. And thank you all again. Okay, so we'll go into breakouts right now.